Okay. All right.
So are you or Ryan going to talk right now? Is it time to go? We're on live. We're on live.
Yeah, I know. I should.
Question
For the forum?
Yes, right there.
All right. And we'll try here.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan. I'm the co-captain for HD6 We're going to get started now on the agenda. We only have one major item today, which is a candidate forum for our next House District 6 representative. So we have Representative Sean Camacho here today and Iris Halpern here today. So our
Wants to talk about fundraising. Okay.
And our former captain, Andrew Fisher, will be moderating that forum. But before we get to that, we're going to have Mark. Where is Mark Kamen? Where'd he go?
Mark.
Mark Kamen, where'd he go?
Oh, he's back there.
We're going to have Mark Kamen talk about fundraising and food so we can keep y'all fed. And other announcements.
We asked Sean if
Okay.
No, I need to tell him.
What's the good news? Okay, the good news. I didn't tell. Come on!
He was right over here.
It'd be so fun.
And I'll find out who's talking.
He's pretty probably great.
I'll call him.
All right, that's gonna be dangerous.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Alaska. I love it. God knows we needed this precipitation, so I hope it snows all night. What? All right, I have several announcements. I'm going to try to not lose my voice, which goes in and out for 3 weeks now. So first of all, I want to do thank yous for the people that brought food tonight. Kelly Rocky.
Yeah, honey.
Where is Tamara? Thank you.
Yay, thank you, Tamara.
I don't know where Les is. Oh, there's Les over there.
Les. Yay, Les.
I don't know where Miles is either. Oh, there he is.
Oh, thank you.
Billy Tedesco, where are you? Randy Ross and the Brownies that come every month. And June Gordon, who's in the back at the check-in table. So thank you to everybody who brought food. Otherwise, you guys would not be eating. So if you like to eat every month when you come here, you need to sign up to bring food. So Karen is going to pass around the sign-up sheet for June. Please sign up and bring food. I will contact you and let you know what we need. We're only doing June sign-up because we do not have a meeting in July. So after that, the next sign-up would be for August. And we'll do that next month. Some of you are asking, why don't we have a meeting in July? Because we have our annual summer picnic and barbecue. Although it's not really a barbecue, it's a picnic.
What day?
That is on July 19th, which is a Sunday afternoon. And that will be at Lowry Great Lawn Park. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about fundraising. That is my main job for House District 6 and for the county party, is to raise money. Sometimes. HD6 did not hit our goal last month for our fundraiser, which was at the Hanger Club. We fell about $750 short of what our goal was. So we need to raise some money tonight so that we can get back on track. So if you want to donate tonight, you can do several things. One, you can, I don't know where the BRE envelopes are. Oh, they're on the tables. You can fill that out. You can put cash in there. You can put a check, or you can fill the whole thing out if you want to do a donation by credit card. And if you have donated previously and you're doing cash or check, then I really only need your name and maybe phone number, because you're already in our system and I don't have to individually look you up. If you are going to do a credit card, you do need to fill the whole thing out, and please make sure you fill out the expiration on the credit card. Are you filming me? Oh my gosh.
Or they can use this.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a minute, Summer, what are you doing? Karen, what'd you say?
They can use the QR code.
Yeah, you can use the QR code also. It makes it very easy. But if you're doing a credit card, please, please, please fill out the credit card number and write it legibly, so I don't have to call you 2 days later and go, I can't read your writing. Or half the people don't fill in the expiration date in the credit card. I can't run your credit card without that. And the third one is the CVV code. I have to have that to run your credit card. So please remember all that. I thought to get us started with donations, I am going to put in $20 of my own. I'll have Beth fill it out for me because she knows all the info. So if I can get 20 more people to do $20, I'll be pretty happy. Beth says she already donated 20. Now, don't stop at 20. I mean, if you want to do 25, 40, 50, 100, I would happily accept all of that. Please help us and donate. Did you say anything about the election? Okay. Helen is just dropping money.
I'm a pretty smart girl myself. Okay. Okay, can I tell you?
Yours is 100.
657.
All right, we're going to move on. For those of you who are on the 6A Central Committee, which means you're either a PO in 6A, you're an elected official in 6A. I'm sure I'm missing something, but please don't leave after the forum. We have to elect a new captain tonight for 6A because Andrew resigned last month to run for city council. So we're going to do that tonight, and we'll get into more of that when we get to that part of the meeting. It's not going to take long, I can assure you. So I'm going to turn Senator Matt Ball.
Woo!
I'm happy to turn the mic over to SD31 State Senator Matt Ball, who will give you a very quick update, and then we'll move on to the forum.
Thank you, Mark. And thank you, everybody, for having me. I know there's a lot on the program tonight, so I'll try to be brief. I just left the Capitol maybe 15 minutes ago or so after coming out of committee presenting one of my bills. So let's see what's going on. We have 8 days to go, which is great. I cannot wait to take a really long nap on May 14th, which is the day after session ends. So let's see what to share. So first on my bills, I'm really, really happy with where my bills are at right now. A lot of the work, as I think you all know, is weighted towards the end of session, but I'm really happy to report that today my big bill on modernizing the RTD board passed in both chambers, which I'm very excited about. Thank you. My online sports betting bill made it through the House Finance Committee yesterday, will be up in appropriations tomorrow, and then on the floor of the House maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. But we feel very good about that. The governor is going to sign the bill. We are going to take the biggest step that any state has ever taken to crack down on abusive practices from online sports betting online, which I'm really, really proud of, having worked on this policy really since last summer. My big bill on geothermal energy also passed today in both chambers with a very broad bipartisan vote. Give it up for geothermal. There we go. Clean, firm energy that we are very well equipped to do here in the state of Colorado. What's that?
Don't say the word big and build together.
Big and don't say those? Sorry. My bill on geothermal energy. That's true. It has a lot of pages in it. It's a big bill. So I'm really happy with where my bills are at, but there's a whole lot of stuff that's coming through right now. There were a lot of bills that were waiting because of the budget. Everything got held up in Appropriations Committee, both in the Senate and in the House. There's just a long line of bills that were waiting until the budget passed. And then the budget passed, and the dam broke, and all kinds of bills have been freed up and are now moving through the chambers. There's also just a lot of big bills. Sorry, Adam. Big bills like the AI bill got introduced yesterday and then came through committee today, and then will probably be on the floor of the Senate tomorrow. So there's also, just a bunch of sort of last minute, but really substantial bills that start coming in really late. So things are moving really, really quickly. I'm sort of used to, and everybody's used to having enough time that you can see bills coming, you can look into them, you can decide where you stand on them. If you want amendments, you have time to go to the sponsors and say, hey, I think this section should be changed from this to this. And now it's just sort of triage mode where things are coming in so fast that hopefully you've done the homework ahead of time, but everybody's sort of trying to, I call it legislative speed dating. but we're all trying to, as fast as we can. So happy to maybe answer any questions in the limited time that I have about anything. I'll be coming back here. One of my favorite HD6 meetings last year was after session ended, I got to come here and give really sort of a broader session review, both of the work that I did, but also some of the themes that bore out. So I love that meeting. I'm going to do that again. Come back here when I have a little bit more time to, collect thoughts. But I'm happy to answer any questions about anything happening now. Yes.
How are Medicaid cuts going to affect services? That Medicaid is one thing, and then I know that the state subsidized the Affordable Care Act this last budget cycle, and what is that new subsidy or lack thereof?
It's a great question.
Could you repeat the question?
Sure. So the question was on what the impact of the budget cuts are on Medicaid, and then particularly on the subsidies, which you probably all remember being in the news around the turn of the year when Congress did not extend the subsidies, but what the legislature is doing to try to backfill that, which we've tried to do in the past. So first, on the impact of the tax cuts, it's all really bad news, frankly, which is the new work requirements will likely kick off about 200,000 to 300,000 people off of Medicaid in our state. A fifth of Coloradans are on Medicaid. It's an enormous number of people. And that's not because people are not actually eligible for Medicaid. That's because really onerous paperwork requirements are just difficult to keep up with, especially if you're someone who has multiple jobs, an hourly worker, someone who might change jobs quickly, and having the certification for that can just be difficult administratively. And then another several hundred thousand of people will likely stop getting health insurance when the subsidies go away because they simply can't afford it. We're doing a couple things at the legislature. The first thing we're doing is we're trying to centralize the administration of Medicaid up to the state for some things. It's county-based right now. We're one of very few states where it's all county-based. It's much harder to try to reduce your error rate and get the work requirements squared away if you don't do things centrally. So actually one of the bills that's outstanding right now is to reform the system that Colorado uses and centralize things so that we just don't have as many people dropping off as we did before. There's another bill that is out there that will create an enterprise that is intended to basically get money from hospitals that can then be used to try to backfill some of the expiring Obamacare subsidies that are going away. So we're trying to do something. I would be lying if I said it's going to totally backfill that money. The truth is the cost of that is just in excess of what we can fund this year. So we're trying to blunt the harm. There are still going to be people who are kicked off of Medicaid, very sadly, because of the downstream effects of what's happening federally. But we're trying to centralize things and trying to find some money to put toward those folks who can no longer afford it. It's time. I can't take one more? Oh, okay.
We really can't.
It's okay. I'll stick around. Thank you all.
Thanks.
And now we are ready to begin our candidate forum.
Or it just, you didn't want it? You didn't want to give him.
Did you want me to do live stream?
I don't know how to turn it on.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew Fisher. I'll be the moderator for the HD6 State Representative Candidate Forum. Here are the rules. Both candidates will receive 2 minutes for an opening statement. Then we'll go through a series of questions that I have prepared ahead of time. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question. We'll alternate order. Then some of you have already turned in questions, but there are note cards on your tables. If you would like to ask a question, please write it down and bring it up to the bowl on this table. And once I've worked through my prepared questions, I will go through the questions that everyone has submitted and ask as many of them as I can. Then each candidate will receive 2 minutes for a closing statement. We did a coin toss ahead of time to determine speaking order. So we are going to start with Representative Sean Camacho, 2 minutes for an opening statement. Ryan will keep the time. There is a clock here that will beep once you are out of time.
All right, can everyone hear me? All right, good evening, HD6. All right. I'm Representative Sean Camacho. I see a lot of familiar faces, but I see some new faces as well. So for background, my mother is from Puerto Rico and my father is from Guam, and we grew up in a very working class background, so much so that we grew up making our living stocking shelves for a living. It was a very informative thing in my life that taught me not only how to serve others, but what it really takes to make it. And I try to impart that on my kids who are here today as special guests, and my wife in the back as well. And they have a lot to learn because school's out tomorrow, so hopefully we can figure out a way of that. But what I'd really like to say is when you elected me to be your representative in 2024, I promised you 3 things. I said I would be accessible, I would tell you the truth even if you didn't like the answer, and I'd fight like hell for you and your families. And that's exactly what I have done at the legislature. The first year I was there, it was laser focused on pushing back against the Trump administration and making sure that members of our community who look like me or talk different were never targeted by ICE. By passing legislation at the state level to protect our civil rights was the huge focus of that first year. That fight continued on. When we were talking about older adults. This year, I passed legislation to make sure older adults over 70 years old would not be taken advantage by fraudsters. It also means standing up for teachers. I did that too, getting teachers a $2,500 pay raise without raising taxes. And finally, standing up for kids. Senator Ball gave a great legislative update. I have an incredible bill that is starting, that is in the Senate right now. It regulates AI chatbots, and it is what we would have done to social media if we knew what it would look like 10 years later. And we are starting now with AI because that is what the situation demands. So that is what it looks like when you're showing up and fighting for other people, fighting for our rights, and I would love to continue the job, so thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Iris?
Hi, House District 6. My name is Iris Halpern, and I'm just kind of getting to introduce myself to most of you now. I jumped into the race primarily for 2 reasons. One is federal and kind of one is local at the state level, right? So the first reason I jumped in is because, as I think all of you have noticed across the country, there's a lot of energy right now to kind of push back against the oppressive regime that we're seeing with the Trump administration. And I think that's across the board, right? I think Democrats are really, really fed up with seeing the destruction of the rule of law, the discrimination, the weaponizing the funding that we have to support our essential services, and just frankly everything about that administration. And I am a lifelong, career-long civil and constitutional and workers' rights attorney, and I have been having those fights across the country, not just here, fighting MAGA extremism. I know very well how they work, the laws that they've been passing in other states like Texas, Oklahoma, their influences, even here in Colorado. And so I had a skill set that I thought would be very, very important in this day and age. But to dovetail with that, I think at the local level, Democrats realized we have to do more at the local level. And that's not the folks here. You guys are all really, really engaged, and we have to thank you for that. But I think, across the board, more and more people are focusing on the local because they understand that how we do politics at the local level needs to change. That we can't keep practicing politics the way that we have in the past under this Trump administration and everything that it's doing to destroy our values and what we care about and our institutions and, frankly, our ability to thrive and survive. And so I jumped in at the local level because I sensed the desire for that change. I sensed the desire that folks wanted their voices and concerns centered at the Capitol and not that of large corporations and wealthy donors. So thank you so much, and I'm happy to also get to know everyone and be able to answer everyone's questions.
Thank you, Iris. Okay, you're both attorneys, but otherwise you have quite different life and professional experiences. Sean, you grew up in Colorado Springs, attended the Air Force Academy, and served as an officer in the Air Force for 7 years in 4 deployments. Then you attended law school. Now you're a partner at a large firm where you handle business disputes and regulatory compliance issues across the country. Iris, you started your career as a union organizer. Then you attended law school. And after that, you worked for more than 7 years as an attorney for the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Now you're a partner at a local firm where you handle employment discrimination and civil rights issues. I'm sure that I've glossed over significant parts of your history, so please feel free to fill those in response to this question. What aspects of your life and professional experience make you uniquely qualified to serve as the state representative for House District 6? Iris, we'll start with you.
Okay, yes. As I mentioned, I have been fighting kind of MAGA extremism and their laws across the country right now. The biggest example I'm talking about in the immediate moment is that I represent librarians who have been fired because they have refused to impose and implement racist and homophobic and transphobic book bans. But I've been protecting undocumented immigrants who are being exploited at work. I have been fighting for LGBTQ rights. I was the first attorney for the federal government at the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission to file a case on behalf of a trans worker trying to make sure that trans employees are covered under our federal anti-discrimination laws, and the first one in Colorado to do so as well. I had the creativity and the knowledge to be able to fight back and to do so, and I understand how the mind frame works, understand how the laws that are being pushed across this country are impacting our lives and how to fight back against that. And I think I'm uniquely well situated to do that because of the experiences I've had and because of the people I've talked to and the experiences and the voices that I've been listening and representing my entire career.
Thank you, Sean.
I think I'm uniquely suited to this role because I think our elected officials need to look like the communities in which we represent. I told you about my background because it's incredibly important. When you come from a working class background, you understand what it means to be able to have food on the table or be able to pay for school supplies. Every year, school supplies gets me because I think about when I was a kid, about how important that was to fit in. So having that experience and understanding of what it feels like to be part of the community really informs my lawmaking. And I hate to get choked up about it, but I think it's important. Because without that experience, you are far more likely to give in the moments that your community needs you the most. When you don't have that experience, when you don't have that foresight, you don't really know what you stand for. And I feel like I have been blessed with the opportunity to understand what it's like to be working class, to be an officer in the Air Force, and to be a partner at a large law firm. Each one of those experiences just gives me a different look at legislation and what it means to represent this community.
All right, this next question is multi-part, so I'll give you each 2 minutes to answer. The top issue in this race, without contest, is ethics. Sean, you've made headlines for attending, along with about a dozen other Democratic state legislators, a weekend retreat in Vail last fall, apparently paid for by the dark money group One Main Street Colorado and attended by lobbyists for various corporate interests. Iris, a recent complaint to the Secretary of State's office accuses you of lobbying the General Assembly for either your law firm or the Colorado Women's Bar Association 13 times over the course of the past 8 years without registering as a lobbyist and violating the prohibition on lobbyists making political donations during a legislative session. I should note that, as best I can tell, an independent ethics commission complaint related to that retreat remains pending, and the commission has not yet made a determination of wrongdoing. Same goes for the Secretary of State complaint related to the unregistered lobbying and political donations. I want to give each of you an opportunity to provide additional context and explanation for your part of this question, and then to answer the following. Why is your own ethics issue not disqualifying to serve as the state representative for House District 6? And if elected, what, if any, ethics reforms would you pursue at the General Assembly? Sean, start with you.
Thank you for the question. I attended a conference in Vail in October. That conference was organized and put together by the Colorado Opportunity Caucus, of which I'm a member. The caucus fundraised and organized and put it and brought together leaders from across the state to talk about issues on education, to business, to AI, to healthcare. This was something I felt that was incredibly important to the work I do, which leads me to my next point. Whenever I am asked to go to a conference, which there are many throughout the year and throughout the interim, there's 2 questions I ask. 1, will it help me serve you better? Is the subject matter of this conference something that will help me be a better legislator? In this case, the answer is yes. The second question is it Amendment 41 compliant? If you don't know what Amendment 41 is, it is a constitutional amendment that limits the amount of money elected officials can take as gifts or remunerations for trips like this. I was told it was Amendment 41 compliant, and I was provided legal guidance that it was compliant. Based on those, I attended the conference. I have done nothing wrong. I followed every best practice. I followed every guidance. I followed the guidance of attorneys to this day. But what this is really about is the ugliness in politics. Because when someone doesn't like you, they make up an accusation. They say a dark money group funded it, even though they were presented facts that that is not true. And I'll say this here. I care deeply about our law. I've made my entire career about following the law and doing what's right, and that did not change when I was elected as your representative for HD6. Again, I have done nothing wrong, but if at the end of this process, the Independent Ethics Commission says I need to do something different or something else needed to happen, I will learn from it, I will make it right, and it will never happen again. But that is not what is happening here, because I have already done that. What we are seeing is that, frankly, the ugly side of politics, and it's just unacceptable. I will tell you, that is not disqualifying for this job, because like I said, I've been very forthright. I've been very honest when anybody asks this question. Like, I will not be forced to accept guilt for something I did not do because it was politically motivated or politically beneficial to somebody else. That is not the representation you deserve, and that's not what you'll get as long as I'm your representative.
Thank you, Sean. Rick?
Okay. So, is this working?
Okay, all right. So, I don't have an ethics problem. I have a dirty campaign problem. One of the incumbents' delegates filed a complaint against me one day before we had the assembly, alleging that I was a lobbyist. I have never been a lobbyist. I have never been paid to be a lobbyist. I have never had a contract. I have never volunteered to be a lobbyist. Organizations like the Colorado Women's Bar Association, the Colorado Trial Lawyers Association, which I also testified for, and my law firm can only testify through members, and many of you guys here have done that and know that, through their pre-existing members who speak on behalf of the organization. And the sad thing, I think, about weaponizing this process is that important organizations like the Colorado Women's Bar Association that helps inform and testify on behalf of bills that impact women across the state are being chilled and they're being cut out. So I have never been a lobbyist. This complaint is going to be dismissed. It was clearly a ploy by, I'm going to say that I believe it was the same dark money group that I've been attacking, because the bills that I have been testifying on were to improve workers' rights. They were to modify and amend our Anti-Discrimination Act so that it was easier for sexual harassment victims to have their day in court, for age discrimination victims to get the same damages as other individuals, for people with disabilities in the workplace to have more rights, for our librarians not to be discriminated and fired if they refuse to go along with book bans, and to limit how we can censor books in the state so that it's not done for discriminatory reasons. I have been fighting for rules that limit the use of excessive force by police when someone has already been arrested. Those are the bills that I was testifying on over the past 8 years. And this complaint went back 8 years, and every time I testified said that I was a lobbyist. But testifying in front of the state legislature is not lobbyist activity and specifically exempt. And that's how every citizen in this state gets to weigh in. So I don't have an ethics problem. I have a dirty campaign, dark money problem, and that's what happens when you run against them.
Thank you, Iris. Iris, during your answer, Sean raised his hand, so I'm going to give each of you 30 seconds for a follow-up. Sean?
You know, when you do this work, you have to assume best intent. I do, but I do take issue with you pointing at me and saying that one of my delegates was behind whatever. I learned about your complaint after it was filed. I had nothing to do with it, and the implication is frankly unacceptable. I don't accept that. That is not to you. This is the ugly part of politics. If they don't like you, they tear you down. If they don't like your answer, you're dead to them. They'll find a way to get back to you. I struggle with that like everyone else, and the implication I just find unfortunate.
Thank you, Sean. Iris?
I'm going to be walking through Sure. And
To be clear, I didn't say that you orchestrated it or even knew about it. But I do think that the same forces that have been objecting to why I'm running in the first place are behind it. If you look at the actual complaint and read it, beyond the fact that it's ridiculous, it has clearly been written by someone else and kind of ghost signed by one of your delegates. I did not say you did it. I didn't say you orchestrated it. But I think it's really important to read these, to look at them, and to figure out why they might have been filed, why 7 years after I testified on a bill about the Colorado Civil Rights Division, someone is filing a charge one day before the Democratic Assembly against me.
Thank you, Iris. All right, next question. Back to 1 minute. Crime, public safety, and public order have become significant public concerns in Colorado. On top of high violent and property crime rates, at one point Colorado had the regrettable distinction of leading the nation in car thefts per capita. In addition, Colorado continues to face a homelessness crisis. In House District 6, especially the western part near downtown, this manifests prominently in concerns about property crime, open drug use, as well as visible addiction and mental health challenges. While responsibility for these issues falls primarily on local governments, the General Assembly and voters shape what local governments can do through criminal law, behavioral health funding, the social safety net, and more. One approach is exemplified by Initiative 85, which will appear on Colorado ballots this fall, and ask voters to make possession of any amount of fentanyl a felony. What, if anything, would you do as a state representative for House District 6 to address Coloradans' concerns about crime, public safety, and public order? I believe we started with Iris, so are we moving to Sean? Starting with Iris, sorry. Go ahead, Iris. Yep.
And I'm sorry if I missed some of that.
There was a lot packed into there for a 1 minute answer. So what I'll tell you is what I think our priorities are. I understand that the safety and security people are really very concerned about it. My philosophy is twofold. First, I think we need to be spending our resources in more efficient ways, which means addressing crime at at its root causes, right? I mean, I don't think we can incarcerate our way out of kind of the scourge of drug use in our country. And I know I was just like, for example, talking to Summer a day ago, and the cut in our funding to Medicaid is going to impact a lot of the services that folks that are addicted to drugs need, right? And so I think we need to be funding those services. I mean, I think we have to be looking at education, looking at opportunities, for work, etc. And I also think that gun control is a really big deal, and is probably going to make our country safer than anything else.
Thank you, Iris. Sean?
I fundamentally believe people in this district have the right and frankly, the need to feel safe in their communities. And the state has a large role to play in that. It starts with the decisions that we make in committee and in legislature on what we determine as a crime, what is adequate policing, what can be done better, how do we use our tax dollars more efficiently. And I think the thing that sticks out to me the most is every single year that I've been there, we've had the Department of Corrections ask for more money because we are over-incarcerating people who probably don't need to be there. We need to be smarter about restorative justice. We need to be smarter about the laws that we pass because we will statistically will drop the rates of crime when they get older. That is something we should be doing. We should be focused on having people integrate back into society after they have served their term with a license, with resources, so they don't have to resort to crime again. We can do both. We can be compassionate and we can be tough on crime, but better yet, we'll be smart on crime. And let's do that in a way that represents all of us and our democratic values.
Yay!
Thank you, Sean. This year, the General Assembly had to make about $1.5 billion in spending cuts to balance the state budget. Rising healthcare costs, which increased the costs of Medicare, the healthcare program for people with lower incomes and disabilities, were a prime driver of the imbalance. The fiscal outlook for the next year does not look much better. How would you, as state representative for House District 6, address rising healthcare costs specifically and put Colorado on a firmer fiscal footing going forward in general? Sean?
That feels like a two-part question. Yeah, it's tough.
I've been a firm believer that all roads lead to Tabor.
Yep.
Yep.
until we address the elephant in the room. That is going to be a consistent problem. Every single time I have met at the legislature representing you, we have cut at least $1 billion from the budget. And it's not because we're a poor state, it's because we're a dumb state. Because we are the only ones dumb enough in the United States to have Tabor as the thing that we point to that we're so proud of. You know what that relates to? That means $4 billion underfunding for K-12. That means infrastructure that is crumbling around us. That means a higher education system that I'm surprised is still public in the state of Colorado. That means kicking people off of Medicaid because people would rather have their 27-cent tax refund, because we cannot be smart about the people's money and make the decisions we need to fund healthcare, to fund the priorities that this district deserves. And until that goes, that is going to be a continued issue, and you got to be strong on that and talk about the problem in its Tabor.
Thank you, John. Liz?
All right, so this was a two-part question. Sorry.
This was a two-part question. So, I mean, the first part of it is I agree with Sean, and I think probably everyone in this room does, that Tabor needs to be repealed. I think you're going to have a hard time finding a Democrat in House District 6 who would say otherwise. I think that's it's pretty universally accepted, and we just have to do the work to do that. And so I do think that would help stabilize our finances and ensure that we have the funding for schools and for healthcare, et cetera. But the second part of that question is, what do we do to restructure our medical system? And I'm a Medicare for All supporter. I think we need to significantly restructure, and we have to, in the interim, look at fraud, et cetera. I know it's not something that'll happen in one day, but we need to set that goal, and we should have to take legislative steps as we can to get to that goal. We have to build to that goal, because I think everyone can agree that our healthcare system is messed up in this country, and there's no way to fundamentally do anything about it unless we seriously restructure and make sure that everyone has access to health care, single pay.
Thank you, Eric. The past few years, a steady stream of companies have moved from states considered more liberal, like California, to states considered more conservative and, quote, pro-business, like Florida and Texas. Recently, the Colorado business community has started complaining about over-regulation and an anti-business attitude by the General Assembly. Last month, the group calling itself a, quote, bipartisan coalition of Colorado technology, business, and civic leaders wrote an open letter that asked Colorado political leaders to, among other things, quote, conduct a thorough and honest assessment of the structural, regulatory, legislative, and rhetorical factors contributing to Colorado being categorized by founders, investors, and business leaders as an environment losing ground.
Do you think it could be longer?
I'm trying to make it longer. Yeah.
Pack a lot to 60-second answers.
Sorry. Do you agree with that sentiment? And if so, how would you, as a state representative for House District 6, fight the impression of Colorado as anti-business? Yes.
Okay. So,
I think there's a myriad of reasons that people are moving from other states, and I think that's been oversimplified. They're also moving to blue cities in red states, and I know there's affordability crisis elsewhere, but I don't think it's all just kind of the overregulation of big businesses. The one thing I would say is this, that pushback, and I want to distinguish between our small businesses here and the policies that will help and affect them, and kind of these big businesses that are making these calls. I believe that big businesses need to pay their share. Just like a graduated income tax with wealthy individuals, I think we need to have one of those for big corporations, and they can whine about regulating, but we have all of the money going to the top right now. We're having small businesses and workers pitted against each other for the crumbs at the bottom, while, Bank of America says, oh no, I'm being overregulated, right? So I think we need to regulate. I think it's not an either or, and that was a false dichotomy, and I think they need to pay their fair share. No one moves to Denver to live next to a Bank of America. We do it because we have good jobs here, where people can raise their families, have a living, where we have nice small businesses on the street, and I would impose, and I think that the dichotomy between regulation, when they're just doing it to make trillions of dollars, right, is a false. It's a red herring. It's smoke and mirrors. And so I think we need to look at what our priorities are, and what we care about and make sure everyone is paying their fair share for that. And I think that includes big corporations. I think you need to regulate AI. I think you need to, there has to be more consumer protections. I think there has to be worker protections. I don't believe in reducing everyone's livelihood just so, Elon Musk can make another, I don't even know how many $1 trillion, right? We can regulate Tesla. That is fine. I don't have a problem with that, and I think we should be doing that as a state legislature.
Thank you, Iris. We had a timer issue during your answer. I think we went about 1:30, so Sean will give you 1:30.
We can do both. We have done both. We were a state that attracted new business and new opportunity for years because people wanted to be here. Because people wanted to enjoy the mountains, people wanted to raise their families here. I think if you want to talk about improving the business climate, let's talk about improving the social climate. Let's talk about having good schools. Because businesses don't want to move to a place that doesn't have good schools. Let's have more affordable housing. If you look back to just a few years ago when we were competing for some of these big headquarters, it came down to whether or not people could live in Colorado. It's an affordability issue, just like it is for businesses. And as a legislature, we need to be laser focused and self-aware enough to know that the people in our communities can't afford to live there. What are you doing about it? That means passing pro-housing legislation. That means passing things that will help people afford their cost of living. That means lowering their cost of healthcare. That means creating more opportunities. When you do that, businesses will want to come here because you have provided an opportunity to grow. You have provided them to be part of this. And I'm not saying they should come here on a free ticket. Everyone needs to pay their fair share, and the way we're doing it right now is not the way to do it. Because those who have benefited most from the system need to pay more into it. That's a discussion we need to have, but we can't because, again, all roads lead to Tabor. But putting that aside, there are plenty of things that we can do, and we have done as a legislature to focus on those issues, and I will continue to work on that tirelessly.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, you will all be glad to know that my prepared questions are over, and I'm going to move to shorter audience questions. The first of which is, what is a policy area that you have changed your mind about? I believe, Iris, are you first on this one?
Life?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Policy that I've changed my life on. So, I think like everyone
Else, when you're young, you're not exposed to kind of the same information. I think the most I've probably changed on is my approaches to policing and crime, right? When I was younger, even through college, I know most people say they had their epiphanies in college, and I was a pretty liberal kid even then, but I didn't have the same information or interactions with the police, and I thought it was eye-opening when I learned about other people's experiences. And that made me very much try to rethink kind of my snap judgments about what is A, effective in policing, but B, also what really reduces crime, right? So I think that's probably one area where I've changed. The other one is really thinking through, I can always answer that question afterwards, but that was one minute.
Sorry. Sean? What is a policy area on which you've changed your mind?
There isn't really an area, broad policy that I've changed my mind. I feel like once I became an adult, I was pretty consistent with what I believe. But I think doing this job requires flexibility to think about the second and tertiary consequences of anything, even something that has a great bill title. I'll give you an example. Today there was a bill about taxing big businesses and providing that tax to go back to pay for people's healthcare who's on Medicaid. Sounds fantastic. It is something we can all get behind. But I think when you dig a little bit deeper and you think, what are the secondary and tertiary consequences of this? Here's what it was. It was the fact that legally we have never challenged what an enterprise means. Does anybody know what an enterprise is? It is the procedural mechanism we have used to get around Tabor. Because if you can create an enterprise It doesn't count against Tabor. So this bill, which was legally unsound, would have forced the courts to determine what an enterprise is. Do you know how much of the state budget is under an enterprise? More than the general fund, more than $40 billion. If that bill was to pass and an enterprise was determined to be unconstitutional under Tabor, half the state budget would have been gone. I think it takes flexibility and ideas every day to make sure you're thinking about that.
Thank you, Sean. There was reference to this earlier, but a frequent target of budget cuts is the Department of Corrections. But prisons are already understaffed, the rehabilitative services are underfunded, and the prisoners are in our custody and deserve livable conditions. How would you plan on addressing the increasing population in state prisons and subsequent budget increases without worsening the state of our state prisons, Sean?
All of us, whether you have committed a crime, whether you live in our community, deserve to be treated like a person. And that is our responsibility as elected officials to make sure that happens. I spoke on this topic at the Well last week because one of my Republican colleagues wanted to introduce a bill to make it a crime of theft if you breach the contract. Specifically, take, for example, if the roofer comes and doesn't finish the job or doesn't do it right, that would now be a felony.
What?
And I talked very passionately in the Well about how we need to be making different choices. It may feel good to do something, but these are choices we're making at the legislature that is going to increase our prison population, not decrease it. Take more money out of K-12, take more money out of healthcare, but we should be doing it smarter and better. Instead of criminalizing everything, we should be able to take those people who are nonviolent offenders and put them in our community so they can learn to be restored and be part and be productive citizens. That is what it's going to take, not just that reaction where you're like, oh yes, let's criminalize this, criminalize that. It's not working. We can't afford it and we can do better.
Thank you, Sean. Yours?
So, in my law firm, we
Actually represent prisoners on a frequent basis, and so I know firsthand kind of the terrible, horrible, dehumanizing conditions that incarcerated folks have in our prisons. I think the solution is simple. I think probably Sean and I agree. I mean, we cannot try to incarcerate our way out of some of our other problems, whether that be kind of drug use or kind of, there's been a big cultural backlash right now talking about law and order. I think we have to look at who we can release and reintroduce into the population and support so that there's no more recidivism and that we reduce the number of people who are in jail. It is expensive to have people in jail. So while we want to make sure that the conditions there are humane, the best way to do that isn't to build more prisons, which is what Governor Polis is asking for in the middle of our budget shortfall. It is to make sure we're not putting as many people in prison or reducing the prison population we do have first.
Thank you.
Thank you, Iris. Sean mentioned regulation of AI, and there are many safety and ethical concerns. China is building data centers at an alarming rate. Do you want to stop the development of data centers? And if so, why? Iris?
So,
I do think we need to put a moratorium on the growth of data centers here, and I would be open to prohibiting data centers in Colorado. We do not have the environmental resources to support those, and I think there hasn't been the kind of the research or study that needs to take place to see how we could implement those without it impacting our environment and degrading our resources, including our water resources. Now, this is again a question about regulating a technology that is very, very new and is progressing at a rate much faster than kind of other forms of technology we have developed in the past. And so I do think that our privacy matters, our privacy rights matters. I think our rights to not be discriminated against matter, and I think we haven't gone quite far enough yet. I know Sean brought up a bill about kind of chat boxes, but I think that bill did not go far enough, and it has no effective enforcement mechanism. If you're going to require the Attorney General to file a case every time instead of getting a private right of action, and then cap damages at $5,000 for a violation, when if I'm sexually harassed and I go to my workplace, I get way more damages than that. Sexual assault on the street or harassment at work, way more damage. This is nothing for those organizations.
Thank you, Iris. Sean?
I'm going to deviate slightly because you talked about something I feel really passionate about, is my chatbot AI bill. This is why you stakehold, and this is why you follow the process. What I said at the beginning is we are taking steps at the state legislature to lead the country because we saw what it looks like when you don't regulate something, social media, when you have the opportunity. Do I think this bill goes far enough? No, I don't. But there has to be an awareness of what you can pass politically. This bill provides tangible protection for my kids in the back, for your kids, your grandkids, and everybody in this community. And how does it do that? It says that if you have a sexually gratifying relationship with a child, you talk the child into self-harm, or you create a sexualized image of a child, that is a $5,000 penalty per interaction. Do you know what that means per interaction? Not capped at whatever it is. It is per text message. How many of you have kids? How many text messages can they send in an hour? And there's no cap. That is a penalty that curbs behavior. Does it go far enough? No. But we have to start somewhere, and having a perfect solution now and not addressing it later is the problem.
Thank you, Sean. Okay. For the remainder of our time, I want to do a quick lightning round. I'm going to ask you to limit your answers to either a yes or no or a few sentences, and I'm going to try to incorporate as many of our remaining audience questions as possible. The first question is, do you support nuclear energy, Sean?
Not now.
Iris?
I would say no. It makes more sense for us to develop our renewable energy sources.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on the graduated income tax number 181, Iris?
Support it, and I'm pretty sure everyone in this room does.
Sean? Support it. One of our young attendees would like to know, should the state let SNAP be used to buy soda? Sean?
No.
Oh, that's
Iris?
terrible.
Administrative costs and ways of regulating that are going to be virtually impossible. So I think there are other ways to try to make sure that we are being healthier. I would regulate the whole food industry, so that's a separate issue. But I don't think it's feasible to do that and not impact who can access SNAP benefits and how much it would cost us to be able to regulate on those ones.
Thank you. Are you in favor of building more housing, even if it is mostly market rate housing? Iris.
That's not a good yes/no question. I'm going to say I think we need all of our tools. So I know that some market rate housing has to happen, but I do think we have to deal with affordable housing. We have to be more aggressive about making sure that there are affordable options and kind of using all the tools in our repertoire. And I don't think the word mostly makes that a fair question for a yes/no answer.
Thanks, Sean.
Yes. Market rate housing means if you build more of it, that means the housing that was formerly market rate will be under market rate, which means supply and demand. It's simple. You build more housing, you have more options. We are in a housing crisis. Yes.
Woo! Colorado currently has a statewide ban on municipalities and counties imposing rent control or rent stabilization measures. Do you support lifting that ban, and if so, to what extent, Sean?
No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because it discourages the building of housing, which is my last answer says we need more of. So, no.
Iris?
Yes, I would repeal it. I've said that publicly a number of times.
Do you support a statewide ban on cell phones in schools? Iris?
Yes. My mic's not is finicky. Yes.
Sean?
Yes, and I was going to sponsor the bill until I gave it to my colleague last year.
All right. Final question before closing statements, and I'll give you a minute for this. And it's a little bit more personal. What is the proudest moment of your career to date? Sean?
I'm going to just stick with legislative career. I think I would love to say Tabor because I do think I've moved the needle on that issue quite a bit. But I think this year in particular, I sponsored the Asset Act. And it was incredibly powerful because the Asset Act prevents people who are 70 years or older from being victims of fraud. Colorado is the 8th most targeted state for elder fraud. So what this bill does is allow a financial institution to put a brake on a fraudulent transaction for 90 or 180 days. And I was so proud of that because the people who came to committee talked about working a lifetime to have the dignity to have a retirement and having a fraudster taken away in an afternoon. Or trying to care for your family and having a fraudster just take that from you. These are horrific stories about the changing somebody's life. And while I would love to say Tabor, I think the best impact I've had, especially this year, was running that bill.
Thank you, Sean. Good.
So
I think reducing kind of all of the work that I've done is impossible. What strikes me when that question was asked is the overall feeling I had that I have worked on things I care about my entire life and have worked to represent people who did not have voices my entire career against all odds. And so while one case, many cases are running through my brain right now, but I think that that's the important thing. The important thing that I'm proudest of in my career is that I have stuck with it. Sometimes when it's really hard, we went up against JBS, the meat packing plant, when I represented hundreds of Somali refugees in a religious discrimination lawsuit, right? I have represented trafficking victims in this district. In this district, people who work in people's homes who are undocumented, who haven't been paid in over a decade. I have been representing those librarians. I represented Elijah McClain's mother after he was murdered by the police in Aurora. In my mind, that is all one that is the thing I'm proudest of, that I keep doing it every day, and that I keep forefronting those voices every day.
Thank you, Iris. Don't sit down yet. Let's move to closing statements. Sean, you started. So Iris, your first closing statement, 2 minutes.
A closing statement.
okay.
So, I think you have all gotten a little bit of a character, a little bit of knowledge about who my character is and what I stand for. And it's not enough. I understand that 2 minute, 1 minute answers and yes, no answers aren't going to satisfy kind of the real questions that you guys have. So I do want to make myself available for that because I know I'm not as familiar to a lot of people in this room. And that's kind of the nature of being a challenger in this case. But I think everyone in this room, and I started with this theme, can tell that there's a lot of energy right now. And I think all of us can do something together about that. And I think we have to make sure that all of the interests of this district are what is being forefronted. And I've said this a number of times at the Capitol. It can't be the same people, the same large corporations, the same dark money, the same wealthy donors who are profiting in the Trump regime. We can't just critique Trump all the time. We have to change how we do politics at the local level and make sure we are fighting for our priorities and values, and that's showing up in our legislation day after day after day. So I would ask that you consider me, learn more about me. I have a very detailed website. My number's out there. I'm happy to give anyone my number, and they can give me a call, they can email me, and just find out more, because it's great that we have a contested race. That is what brings Democrats out. When it was Biden running by himself, it depressed turnout, and we saw what the results of that are. Democracy is healthiest when there's multiple people running out there with multiple ideas, and everyone is getting engaged and making a choice, and that will make stronger policies, stronger laws, and get our community more engaged so that we can win at the local level, at the state level, and at the federal level, which is what everybody wants right now.
Thank you, Iris. Sean?
When I grew up, I was always told, show gratitude and humility, and I want to say thank you to this district for trusting me to be your representative for the last 2 years. It has been one of the most important jobs I've ever had. And I think about what a journey this has been with HD6. From being your captain, to running in this primary, to fulfilling the democratic ideas and values that we have all fought and organized for. Whether it's supporting teachers, or supporting unions, or supporting those among us who have the least. It is something I take with great pride every day I go in that building representing you, because I have one singular mission. There's only one representative for House District 6, and that is me. When I am in that building, the only thing I care about, is it good for this district or is it bad for this district? And when you look at legislation, when you look at the biggest issues before our state in that lens, I am incredibly humbled and honored to be your voice there. And I can tell you, frankly, we have so much more work to do. I was the first legislator, damn near ever, to challenge the constitutionality of Tabor, because that was a priority for this room, that was a priority for this district. And what have we gotten from that? We got 2 governor candidates that are talking about it. We've got every single Democrat talking about it. And I know a lot of Democrats in HD6 don't like Tabor, but who's doing something about it? I was the first one ever to challenge the constitutionality, because until we address Tabor, we're not going to be able to push back against the Trump administration with the resources we need. We're not going to be able to fund health care for everyone in our community. We're not going to be able to make sure our kids have the future they deserve. There is so much more work to do, and I would love the honor to continue to do it representing you, and I please ask for your support.
Thank you, Sean. Please, everybody, give a big round of applause to our 2 candidates, Sean Camacho and Iris Halpern. All right, I'm handing the microphone to Karen.
So thank you. Oh, and I have to follow this. Man, wow. So you guys, this is going to be the end of HD6B's part of the meeting. And I just want to announce that I am actually resigning as captain as of June 3rd, which is just after the next meeting, because we have a bunch of complicated stuff going on. And it's almost 100% because of my actual physical health. Okay? I'm okay. I just have a lot of pain. I'm in pain right now. So I never act like it and I don't talk about it, but it's just the truth. So I have to work on, I have some things that I have to do, and I have to do them every day, and they take a lot of time. And I just don't have enough time in my life. I just don't. But I still want to offer, I have one more box of chocolates. And I have 2 drink tickets. And this you can have the drink with one of the House District 6 officers, but you would have to contact us and make sure we set it up with you. And it'll be either you could even have it at the happy hour with the Democrats down at Localis. That would be fun, right? That would be fun. And then I also do have some cinnamon and plain dried apples. Okay. So I'm going to do 3 more tickets. And then I'm going to take all of your suggestions and I'm going to put them in a little spreadsheet so that HD6 can try to do more meetings that have your ideas in them. All right, so let's see now. Here's somebody. Let's see.
And Karen, can you ask them?
Oh, yes.
Come and take cookies.
Oh, yes. Wait. When we leave the HD6B, we need to take some of the cookies and desserts. I don't think there's much food left. I think it all got ate up. Okay. And another thing that we really need tonight, if you would please donate a little money. I mean, I know we all have to be careful with our money, but if you can, please donate a little money. Thank you. So, this is Tim Demore. So, oh, okay. There's cinnamon and maple. You want the cinnamon? Oh, thanks. Yeah. Oh, this is Randy Ross, and he wants us to get the Denver Indian Center. That would be interesting. Oh, Randy's going to pick a drink one. Yay! All right. That's those. Yeah. Either one. Yeah. Woo! This is nice. Together? No. It's just one. Okay. All right. And oh, this is Abe Call, and he wants us to bring Yimby to HD6. Yes, in my backyard. You ready? Yeah. Thank you, Abe. All right. So I guess I'll pull one more. If anybody wants to come up here and pick, that's the drink one. Yeah. And we'll pull one more, and then we gotta. And should we help pick up some of the chairs or what? Yeah. Yes. Oh, June Churchill. She wants us to bring front range passenger rail. Ah, this is very interesting. So those are So thank you very much, and don't worry, I'm not leaving, I'm not quitting the Denver Democrats. I'm still a PO.
Okay.
Hey everyone, pay attention please.
All right, we're going to do a very quick election for a new captain in 6A because this is quite simple. But before we do that, as Karen said, she is going to be resigning. You can leave if you're in 6B, not 6A. Karen's resignation doesn't take effect until June 3rd, which is the day after our June meeting. So we will not be electing a new 6B captain until our August meeting, and you will get an announcement called The Call in July from me as the chair. And if you're interested in running for captain of 6B, that's when you send me your intent. Any questions on that? Okay. So, as I said, we have to... Can everybody please be quiet for 2 minutes? Kelly, Lazarus, silence, please. So, in 6A, originally I received 3 people with intents to run for captain. Since then, 2 have withdrawn. There's only 1 name left, and that's Nick DeSalvo, the PO in 601. Is there anybody that wants to self-nominate from the floor? Okay, I'll take that as a no. So, per our rules, can I have quiet, please? I'm only asking for 2 more minutes. Per our rules, if there's only 1 candidate, somebody can nominate that person to be elected by acclamation. Is there a motion to do that? Leo Boyle nominates Nick DeSalvo for captain. Is there a second? Second, thank you. All those in favor of electing Nick by acclamation, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you. Congratulations, Nick. Now we forgot to tell you, there's a meeting after this meeting. Just kidding. Thank you, everybody.
Get the feeling better.
All right, Andrew, do I need to offload this stuff on